We are Saber Sports.
Welcome back to Saber Sports. I'm your host, Simone Steffen, and I'm joined by the incredible team at the desk, Shane Fordham, Chris Zellis, Jeremiah Williams, and Keith Norris Jr. Today on Saber Sports, we dive into the chaos of the Eagles' drastic collapse. Jeremiah, who's the most to blame for the Eagles' tragic season?
Wow. So this is an obvious answer, and I really don't care what you think about this, Shane. It's Jalen Hurts is the reason for this collapse, right? So, and I promise you guys today I'm not going to be screaming, But, So they start the season 10-1, right? We're talking about, Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, arguably better than Patrick Mahomes. Some people are saying 10-1. Okay, great start. But you lose 6 of the last 7 games. Why is that? It's because of Jalen Hurts. He wasn't able to, get anything going. You have every piece that you need to be successful. You have a running back, you have wide receivers, you have the whole 9, you have an amazing roster, and you somehow can't get it done. This year he was very indecisive this year, understanding that, this is his second year, not second year, but, coming off of, going to the Super Bowl. This was the year you were supposed to prove the naysayers wrong. This was the year you're supposed to get it done, and you didn't. You failed. You lost in your first playoff round versus the Baker Mayfield. Let's just not forget that, Baker Mayfield. He took a step back. And one thing I noticed, though, with Jalen Hurts this year, when you take away his first read, he's nothing. He's literally nothing. So, and Shane, you can huff and puff all you want, but that's the reality. He is the reason for you guys failing. He is the reason why you guys aren't going to be anything. And he is the reason next year you possibly may be in the same position. Jalen Hurts, I'm not going to consider him overrated, but let's take a step back from him. This is his problem. So that's what I think, and that's what it is. And then also, I'm going to say one more thing. By this year, too, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I have to get it off my chest. I had to question his leadership this year. Ooh. Because at the end of the day, when you're struggling, you have somebody in the locker room, what are you going to do? You going to get it done? You going to figure out a way or not? Or you going to make excuses? And I don't want to hear, his hand, boo-hoo. Figure it out, bro. What are you going to do about it?
He was hating on Lamar, too.
Exactly.
So I'm happy for it.
So I question his leadership, and I look at Jalen Hurts and I was like, are you really that type dude?
Told you.
And the answer is no. Next.
I got so many words for you right now.
Talk to me.
Chris, go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and help Shane out a little bit. This has nothing to do with, well, let me not say nothing to do, but this is not Jalen Hurts' fault. At the end of the day, yes, players do have to play, but let's not forget Jalen Hurts has put on one of the best Super Bowl performances by a quarterback we've seen in a while.
Where they at now?
He's still an elite quarterback, a top quarterback talent in this league. Mm-hmm. He threw for 3,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 2 1,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard rusher, top defense. But schematically, this team was not good in the back end of the season. And who handles schematics and the schemes? Coaches. They didn't have good third down plans. When you watch the games, teams would start to heat them up, and there was no good plan for it. They wanted to throw screens and do different things like this. So Jalen Hurts is not the issue here, Jay. You're crazy. We're talking about one of the best leaders. Last year, everybody's, oh, my God, he's one of the best leaders in the NFL. They loved how he wasn't too emotional. And now the same people that were saying that were the same people saying, why is he not showing any emotion? He can't lead. And that's not true. None of this has come within the team. This is all outside talk. Not unless you had a conversation with somebody in the Eagles locker room, you can let me know. But, at the end of the day, players do have to make plays. And did the Eagles make every play? No. But a lot of times I feel like they were not put in position to succeed by coaching, by scheme, and that's what led to this downfall. Because you got to think about it, as the season goes on, team gets better, teams scheme you up, teams learn your tendencies, and you have to be able to break those tendencies and scheme up other teams as well.
Now, I can say, when I first came up here, I did want to pick with you and bring up how it is on Hurts. But I can say it was the coaching and the play calling. But I'm going to say this, though. You was running your mouth about Lamar just last year. He ain't have no weapons when Lamar was hurt. So now that Hurts is in that same boat, he hurt. You feel like everybody's not helping him in the play call. it's like you trading your original argument. I feel as though he could have did some things better. Were predictable. Your team was very predictable.
Very predictable.
I'm talking about it was easy. So I'm not going to say it's 100% on Hurts, but he does has a factor, especially too when you bring up the argument off camera. We had that conversation about Lamar, and you had a lot to say, and you're not giving your boy that same critique. So I don't like that.
Is my turn now?
Go ahead, Shane. Go ahead, Shane. But before you go,
No. It's my turn. It's my turn. Y'all just said it was my turn.
Y'all
Y'all just said it was my turn. Y'all just said it was my turn, so let me cook. Let me cook. Y'all just said it was my turn, so let me cook.
Go ahead.
First of all, I can't. I'm sick and tired of all the Jalen Hurts slander because something goes wrong. Y'all don't wanna praise him when things go right. He's having a good season. Oh, it's because he has a great O-line. He's got A.J. Brown on the squad. But when something goes wrong on the Eagles, y'all are the first ones to blame him. Y'all give him credit. Y'all blame him when things go wrong, but y'all don't want to give him credit when things go right. And I'm sick of it. Because if you're actually watching these games, if you're watching the tape, you can see the problem is clearly the coaches. Brian Johnson, the Eagles' former offensive coordinator, thank God, was responsible for one of the most basic, elementary, and like you guys said, the most predictable offense in the National Football League. And that's including the Panthers, who were planning their offseason trip to Cabo back in December. They knew they weren't going to be around playoff time. So this was the most rudimentary and elementary offense in the whole entire league. And it was because of his overuse of the shotgun. Why are you running 53% of your run plays from the shotgun formation? There's only one run play you can run from shotgun. It's the inside zone. The inside zone is the least effective run concept in the National Football League. Jalen Hurts isn't calling the plays. He's not telling Sirianni, hey, let's get some inside zone runs to DeAndre Swift and Kenny.
but he's the one on the field, right? He's the one on the field,
That doesn't
right?
matter.
He's on the field, right? He's on the field, right?
He's not calling the plays.
Let him finish.
They're running 53% of their run plays were inside zones from shotguns. That literally kills the run game. Brian Johnson single-handedly destroyed the strongest unit and aspect of the Eagles' offense. The inside zone, it kills the run game. It takes the explosiveness away from the running back, makes it harder for them to find cutback lanes and things like that. The only other run play that you can run out of a shotgun formation is an outside zone, which is even more useless in the inside zone. You're forcing the running back to run parallel to the line of scrimmage until he gets to the outside. A defense, any defense who's paying attention, it's an automatic TFL for them. Like that's not on Jalen Hurts. Brian Johnson single-handedly destroyed the versatility of this offense because the run game is what opened it up for us last year to be so dangerous in the past. So there's only so much Jalen Hurts can do when, one, he's on a bad knee. There's no reason that there's no reason that the Eagles should be running QB runs, designed QB run plays, either more or equal to just regular run plays. The Eagles only ran 61 had only 61 rushing attempts from under the center. That's the least in the NFL. That's your explosiveness in the backfield. Chris, you can attest that being a quarterback. What was Jalen Hurts supposed to do? He's on a bad knee. There's only so much he can do when he has bad plays, and he can't call certain audibles. He doesn't have the full playbook at his disposal when he's out in the field, depending on what the original call is. This isn't Madden. He can't access the whole playbook while he's on the field. There are only certain checks for certain plays. It depends on what the original play call was.
I love your excuses. I love your excuses.
Bro, one of the offensive drives.
I love your excuses. I love your excuses because each time. Hold on. Each time that something goes wrong with the Eagles and they're not playing up to par or Jalen Hurts is struggling, you want to deviate. You want to be distracted by these coaches. It's not always the coach. You have to look at Jalen Hurts. He's the one on the field. He's the one throwing the ball. He can audible.
He don't got that dub.
And that's a problem.
First of all,
and you don't want to talk about. No.
You can only audible
about
so
that.
many plays.
You don't want to talk about that.
You can only
You don't want to
audible so
talk
many
about
plays.
that.
There are only so many checks that come with each play.
It was his fault that they lost this year because of him, not just the
I-
coaches.
I disagree with that because, listen, at the end of the day, yes, okay, let's be realistic about it. Jalen Hurts is quarterback. Yes, quarterbacks take the blame, but you have to look at the games, look at what they were doing, look at what was happening. You cannot. Now, one question I do have is, as they're weekly sitting in these meetings, what is that conversation like between Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts?
Exactly.
What is the communication?
that was a communication factor.
Because at the end of the day, these are the two people that are coming up and creating this game plan each week. So was there a disconnect between those two? Was that an underlying issue? Because at the end of the day, Brian has to take input from what Jalen Hurts likes, and Jalen Hurts also has to understand, okay, this is not working, we need to do something different. So there could have been a disconnect there as well.
Jalen Hurts was 200 yards shy of 4,000 passing yards this year. He had 23 passing touchdowns and 15 rushing touchdowns. It was clearly not Jalen Hurts. And are we not going to talk about the defense? Are we not going to talk about how terrible the defense looked this year, how much they didn't want to tackle?
Let's bring up the situation we just talked about off camera. I said the same comparison is to Lamar to Greg Roman, right? We brought this up. You saying it's not the same. It's not the same predictability. And the reason why it's not the same, because Lamar made plays. Lamar isn't predictable.
Y'all weren't running a Pop Warner offense.
But he don't got that dog in him, bro.
How much would you have in you if you had a bone bruise?
It don't matter.
I played with a bone bruise.
Let me
I've had a bone bruise. We talked about this. I played through a bone bruise.
We're talking about on the NFL level. We are not talking about Pop Warner football.
Whoa. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to cut you off. Coming up next, what's the biggest priority for the Chiefs this offseason? We'll be right back after this break. TJ Farmer joins the desk with the NFL free agency coming up. Chiefs D lineman Chris Jones and Chiefs corner Ladarius Sneed are both up to be franchise tagged. Who should the Chiefs re-signing priority be, Chris Jones or Sneed?
I'm going to go with what I feel like may not be the popular answer. I'm going to go with Ladarius Sneed, and I'm going to tell you why. I feel like the NFL, especially the receiver position right now, is in a real revolving door, and then players are getting better and better rapidly.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you have a good thing going in your defensive back room, you kind of got to stick with that because a good corner is hard to come by. Again, receivers are getting better and better every single year. So if you have a good thing going, I think you just stick with that. Whereas a defensive tackle, yes, is very important, and he had 10.5 sacks. But I feel like it's a little easier to come by. Like a big athletic guys, they're coming every season. There's more and more of them. So I just feel like we're going to go with the DB. So.
Okay. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, well, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Chris Jones. It's a definite priority with the re-signing him this offseason. He's a game record. Chris Jones gives me that Aaron Donald vibes where he doesn't make every tackle. He might not make every sack, but he's going to command the double team. If you look back at the Super Bowl, how many pressures he got on Brock Purdy that would have been touchdown, like wide open receivers that he turned into incompletion because of his pressure. That's something that is rare in this league. And when you talk about this league being a passing league, teams being able to run the ball so well, so many different things offense can do. You need somebody up front that can wreck that no matter what's going on. And I think that's what Chris Jones is for this team. He had 10.5 sacks. And when you look at that Chiefs secondary, they have Justin Reed, they have Mike Edwards, they have Joshua Williams, they have Trent McDuffie, who was also all-pro. So it's not like the Chiefs are hurting in the secondary. They can go without Sneed because I think they have guys, veteran guys, and guys that can make plays in that secondary. And then when you have a pass rush, your secondary doesn't really have to cover that long. So I'm definitely thinking Chris Jones is going to be the priority for the Chiefs this offseason.
Wow, so this is a tough one for me. At first I was thinking about, keeping Chris Jones, but now thinking about it and, thinking about division, who's in the AFC, what wide receivers are in the AFC as well, I think I'm going to go with, signing Sneed. He's a great corner. He can defend on both sides of the ball, versatile. When they played the Miami Dolphins, he was guarding Tyreek Hill, 2 receptions for 20 yards on Tyreek Hill, the cheetah. We need that. The Chiefs need that. They need to hold on to that because, like I said before in previous episodes, playoffs are what really matters. And when it's time to go against the Bengals, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Bills, you're going to need a corner that can, prioritize a number one receiver, and that's what Sneed brings to the Chiefs. Also, when you keep Sneed, you don't have to spend as much money on rather than Chris Jones. Chris Jones, he's looking for a big contract.
He's looking for a bag.
He's looking for a contract like Bosa, So if you pay Sneed, you have some money to look for other options. If you pay Jones, it's like, okay, where's the money going to now? You don't have a lot left. So I'm going to keep Sneed in this situation.
I'm not mad at you guys for picking Sneed. He had a great season this year. Definitely all pro caliber season. And then we saw, how effective he was in the postseason, basically winning that game for the Chiefs against the Ravens in the AFC Championship, punching that ball out of Zay Flowers' arms. But I got to go Chris Jones. SNEED makes them a good defense, makes them a tough defense, but Chris Jones makes them a Super Bowl defense. What Chris Jones does for that defense, not even if we just take his own stats out of it, he makes so many factor plays on the field, opening it up for GK, Amenhu, Dana, Tranquil, like those other pass rushers on the line to be able to make plays as well. He makes the whole D-line better, and he plays in several different positions on the D-line. He's listed as a D tackle, but he played a lot of edge this year.
He's
a
versatile.
lot of edge setting this year. Opened it up for them to run DB blitzes like Reed, McDuffie. Allowing Coach Spags to use them in different ways. Being able to throw different things at offenses. And when we're thinking about who they're going to be playing, we also got to remember that these teams that they're playing in the AFC, their main competitions, they're not known for their O-line play. The Bills, the Bengals, their O-line is weak. The Jets O-line can't stay healthy. And that's just an automatic mix match for the teams that the Chiefs are going to be seeing immediately in the season,
right,
and then in the playoffs on their way to another Super Bowl.
I'm not mad at that. I'm just thinking about, wide receivers. That scares me because I just think of Diggs, Tyreek, Bengal, what they got going on. The whole core.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that scares me, With Jones, you say, granted, the O-line is obviously weak in the AFC, but I need, when it's important time, especially the playoffs, when I need you to neutralize the number one option, SNEED can do that. And when SNEED can do that, it allows the offense to come back on the field and allows Patrick Mahomes to go to work.
Well, when you talk about neutralizing number one option, you got to forget. Let's not forget, again, an all-pro corner on the other side, Trent McDuffie. He can just as well take away any number one receiver in his game. And again,
but
receivers nowadays,
a lot of them have.
But receivers nowadays are having to run their routes to beat the pass rush. They can only run their route as long or do as much as the pass rush allows. If the quarterback has all day, they're going to get open. Of course, people are going to be open. But when you have somebody that can take that away, it doesn't matter if you have Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Zay Flowers. It doesn't matter because they're not going to have time. The quarterback's not going to have time. So I think, and you talk about money a little bit, but I think in this league, you spend money on what you need and what makes it different. We're talking about Super Bowl here. We're not talking about having money to go get some other people. They're pushing for another Super Bowl run right now.
They are.
And the Chiefs have the ability to make this move because of the pay cut that Patrick Mahomes took.
Right.
Him being a leader, him wanting to win Super Bowls. He said, you guys don't have to pay me as much so you can get some of these other guys that we need to win rings. Chris Jones is who these guys need. He's top 2 in terms of his pass rush win rate, which is a big deal because even though he may not be getting the sack himself, he's getting pressures. He's collapsing the pocket so that Amenhu can grab the quarterback on the edge, or GK can get him on the other side. He's making the pocket unstable for quarterbacks. He's not giving. It's not a suitable living environment for these quarterbacks. It's hostile.
Right.
They got to make a decision quick with Chris Jones coming. Yeah. So I feel like their first move has to be getting Chris Jones.
Just to play a quick devil's advocate, though, Chris Jones is going to his 30s. So how long can he play at this high level?
Exactly.
Whereas SNEED is 27 years old. He's a younger, fresher body.
Yes.
And he's not playing. He's not playing a taxing position. He's not in the trenches. So like, how do you
well, that's
go
why
about
he gets
that?
paid all that money so he go take care of his body.
Right.
So to play devil's advocate as well. So you sign. Say if you sign Chris Jones, what are you going to do with SNEED? Do you get rid of him? Do you? Because he's going to want his money as well. Because you know what he did versus the Dolphins. His head is big right now.
You know who's ready to grab him. You
Not-
know who's ready to grab him. They're already talking about it.
I don't like you.
Eagles right there for the rebound. We don't like it.
We're good.
I don't like you for that one.
Going to have to cut you off there. After the break, the crew will discuss if CAITLYN Clarke could be the greatest women's college basketball player of all time. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. Peyton Hart joins the desk. Peyton, do you believe that CAITLYN Clarke could be the greatest women's college basketball player of all time?
So I don't feel like any of us up here are going to deny CAITLYN Clarke's talent. I feel like that's a given. She's proven it. Not only in her scoring ability, but her ability to pick apart a pass and transition. Like, as soon as she gets the ball, if you watch her tape and you watch her film, as soon as she gets the ball, there's 2 defenders on her off rip, and she's still able to pick apart that pass and get those points up on the board. And so I think what we need to see from CAITLYN Clarke is for her to win a ring. And I think the question is, can this Iowa team beat South Carolina? They've been undeniably talented throughout the season, and Clarke is selling out stadiums, and no one's talking about the Bayou Barbie anymore. No one's talking about LSU. Everyone's talking about CAITLYN Clarke. So I think, of course, she has the ability to be one of the greatest players to play the game, male or female, and we've seen that in the records that she's broken. And I think what she needs to really put that cherry on top is to win a championship.
Right. Agree with you, Peyton. Right on. But definitely she can be one of the greatest of all time. You just look at her numbers, everybody. Like, career averaging 28.8 points per game, 8.1 assists. She has 12 40-point games for this year. That's amazing. This season she's averaging 32.4 points per game and 8.5 assists. That's unreal on both sides. She's able to, move without the ball, move within the pick and roll. She's just amazing. So she definitely has a chance. I think the only thing that's missing is obviously this championship, and if you can get that championship, it kind of puts you in another, tier of all-time greats.
I agree. Again, amazing talent. Steph Curry women's basketball, I think, is an accurate comp.
Facts.
This Iowa team, she has them ranked 4. They're 23-4. She's less than 100 points away from breaking the men's and women's scoring record. I mean, a truly elite and amazing talent. I think to be the greatest ever, though, I definitely need a championship to go with all the accolades, all the personal, all the singular accolades she has. I think when you talk about those great players, like you talk about Michael Jordan, guys that could make their teams better. And yes, they had talent around them to help them, but they were the guys that pushed their teams to get those championships. And I think that's something that she needs to show that she can do with this Iowa team, which I think she is showing it this season. Again, they're ranked 4 and they've only lost 4 games.
Well, here you go.
Could CAITLYN Clarke be the best women's college basketball player of all time? CAITLYN Clarke already the GOAT. She's already the best. She's already best she's already all-time best. She has a scoring record for women's college basketball, and she's getting ready to break the men's. She could be the first player in NCAA history to break the women's scoring record and the men's scoring record in the same year. Regardless of what she does in March Madness and the tournament, to me, I feel like she's going to be considered the GOAT regardless, especially if she gets that scoring record, which it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Because if she comes back next year, she'll be able to break that no problem because she's only 98 points away, and she's averaging, she would need at least 20 points a game. She's averaging more than that already. So she's already doing the things that great players need to do in order to be considered great. And, I think that the Stephen Curry comparison is a good comparison in terms of skill. But in terms of the bigger picture of things, I think the more appropriate comparison is Magic Johnson. CAITLYN Clarke is going to be the Magic Johnson of women's basketball. Because if we're looking at Magic Johnson doesn't get enough credit for the way that he changed the game in terms of quality and marketability. Before Magic Johnson, the Lakers were a good regular season team, but struggled in the playoffs. The NBA, it wasn't the conglomerate of entertainment that it is today. It wasn't on a national scale the way it is today. It wasn't as popular as it is today. When Magic Johnson came to the league, he not only turned around that Lakers organization, but he revitalized the whole NBA. He made the NBA more entertaining to watch. Along with the rivalry with Larry Bird, there would be no Showtime Lakers without Magic, and the NBA wouldn't be the same without the Showtime Lakers. I think CAITLYN Clarke could have that same effect on the WNBA, which is something they desperately need.
Did Angel Reese not just had that same effect on women's college basketball last season?
I don't think it would be on the same scale as CAITLYN Clarke. I feel like CAITLYN.
I know I personally tune in to women's college basketball to watch Angel Reese and LSU play last year.
Of course. But I'm saying to the scale of which CAITLYN Clarke has the ability to increase the traffic for women's basketball, I think no other person in the game compares to that. Angel Reese come close in terms of college, but I think in terms of the pros, I think CAITLYN Clarke will be able to make an immediate impact just in terms of the views and the ratings, because the ratings and views weren't the same for the NBA as they were back then.
They're not.
Just like in the WNBA, that's something that the league, that's something that they need. That's something that they need in order for the players to get paid more. And I think CAITLYN Clarke is the first step towards that, just because of how entertaining she is. She has transcended being a basketball player. She's an entertainer.
I don't have a problem, and this is funny because this is the first time we've actually agreed on something in a while, so it's kind of amazing. But nonetheless,
You agree with me?
I agree. Yeah. I don't have a problem with anything you're saying. I will say I don't like the Magic Johnson, comparison, and the reason why is I kind of see in a different scale. And stay with me, everybody. I'm gonna say, so CAITLYN Clarke reminds me of a Steph Curry, a Trae Young.
Well, I agree. I'm not saying in terms of skill.
Okay.
I'm saying in terms
Impact.
of
Yeah.
the marketability aspect that she would bring to the league with her.
Okay, I still don't think Magic Johnson, but I want to say Rajon Rondo.
Why would it be Rajon Rondo?
No.
Why would it be Rajon Rondo?
What
organization did Rajon Rondo turn around?
No, just stay with me. I'm talking about like how the style of play.
But that's what I'm not talking about style.
Yeah, you guys talking about
I'm
style.
talking about the
Style of
impact
play.
that she would have on the game
Impact will
and
be
the
Steph.
league.
Impact will be Steph, but comparison, I would say Steph, Rondo, and Trae Young.
I think that's fair for the Steph comparison in terms of both impact and play style. But I'm saying in terms of impact, Magic Johnson, he not only improved the game in terms of quality, but he brought attention. He made more people want to watch and be in tune with the NBA because we had never seen a player like him and really still haven't. I feel like we haven't seen a player like CAITLYN Clarke.
I don't think we need to sit here and compare her to any male basketball player. Let her start her own legacy and her own trajectory from here on out.
I don't know. I think we have players like Sabrina Ionescu and then Angel Reese. I think that they had started to push that women's college basketball and even WNBA wave forward. And I don't think that CAITLYN Clarke just created this wave all of a sudden. I think she's just building it off the shoulders of those former.
I agree with that,
players.
and I'm not saying that she's solely responsible, but I'm saying with how big of a name CAITLYN Clarke is, how captivating she is to watch, the things that we have seen her do with a basketball.
Now, I think at this time last year, LSU was doing the exact same thing.
Angel Reese was
And
exact
my
same
point is,
combo.
I think CAITLYN Clarke could go bigger. They're doing it like college basketball.
market, too.
College basketball is more tuned in than the WNBA. Part of that is scheduling conflicts, because scheduling errors that they make in terms of the nights they schedule games. But on a college aspect, of course, Angel Reese, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Angel Reese, Sabrina, world-renowned athletes, but I'm saying CAITLYN Clarke with how much of a viewing that she has. How marketable she is. The swag that she has, her style of play. Which is where basketball is trending to, that style of play. I feel like she would be able to make an immediate impact, not just in terms of the views and the ratings and, things like that, but just in terms of the quality of play as well. Because we haven't seen the only other player we've seen like CAITLYN Clarke is Stephen Curry. She's the only player that comes close to Stephen Curry in terms of play style other than Trae Young. But I think in terms of the WNBA, that's something that they would be able to capitalize off of in terms of her marketability factor and then just how good she is.
It'll be interesting to see, though, for sure. I wonder how it's going to translate, though.
That's all we have for this week's edition of Saber Sports. Make sure to tune in next week for the best sports debate show in the country, right here on WGNT News 27. See you next time.